their pockets to fill a revenue shortfall in order to fund free higher education. Late last year, former President Jacob Zuma made a change in the higher education policy, announcing that tertiary education would be free in public institutions for students from poor and low-income earning families. Earlier, we spoke to the Minister of Higher Education, Professor Hlengiwe Mkhize, from our parliamentary studios.
It was a huge relief because having gone through the experience of the consequences of the hashtag fees must fall, having seen universities banning students, in confronting the police and the police pushing them back, those sins were not good for our psyche as the nation. So I'm really relieved. It's a very, very important step in terms of phasing in fee-free education for the poor and working class, and it also gives us an opportunity to assist universities not to increase the fees for those who will be outside the 350,000 bracket, so that even if there are those who are paying, it's affordable if government is subsidizing universities.
Now we know that
and TVET colleges.
Students from poor and low-income earning families stand to benefit from fee-free tertiary education, but at the same time that has now increased 1 percentage point. What is your stance on that?
You know, there has been all sorts of reaction, but I do believe that if you look at the overall, the budget protected the poorest of the poor all the way through, because even the VAT that was introduced, it was looking at luxury goods, which I still think it somehow cushioned those who are ever consuming the basics, what they need to survive, as against the luxuries like tobaccos, alcohol, and so on.
Now, a significant number of students come from families that do rely heavily on social grants. How far is the increase in social grants going to cushion some of the struggling families?
Well, you know, the increase in social grants, it puts pressure on us as implementers to work harder and be able to account to government in terms of those who are exiting the grant system. For instance, we haven't communicated, we have absorbed for 2018 a number of students who were on grants. We don't even assess them. They are just automatically given NSFAS fund. So it means there's an exit point ultimately out of the grants. It is important where the call is to manage the resources very well, stop corrupt practices, be efficient, and also use the technologies to avoid unnecessary wastage. If we manage all this well, we will be dealing also with the question which other economists have been raising, issues of sustainability. Can government sustain this? I want to say yes, if we manage what we have properly, and it's benefiting those, the target individuals, they will come out of the system as soon as possible, and gradually the fiscus will be relieved.
Now, we do know that 57 billion rand, if I'm not mistaken, has been allocated for this year for higher tertiary education. However, speaking to WITS SRC president yesterday evening, he said that this necessarily is not enough. It doesn't take into account textbooks. It doesn't take into account accommodation for students. Your views on this? Well,
in terms of our policies, we have crunched the numbers of students who will take for this year, estimating them to be around 208, going by the dates by when they applied, they met all the criteria, academic criteria, and application dates. And so what is unique about this policy, which we call fee-free, is really for the first time where we spell out the study material, where we spell out accommodation, where we spell out transport fees. So Our students have a huge responsibility to get in those institutions, settle in, work hard so as to ensure that they don't fail, because we might come up with policies and say, if you fail, what was a bursary will be converted into a loan. We might keep you in the system, but it will become a loan. So I hope they will cooperate. I'm at UCT this afternoon with the student structures. I really am engaging them as openly as possible. That is time to settle in and to give their best and to succeed and be able to be placed in a workplace and continue and influence the direction the economy of the country will be going.
We're just going to have to wait and see if it is going to be enough. Your view on some analysts critiquing the budget and the sustainability about some of the reallocations that have been made specifically towards education, that over the years it might not be a viable and sustainable process?
You know, I fully agree with that question. And that's the question I've been raising since December when this announcement was made. And I've been saying we have to be creative and innovative and look at partnerships. Remember the NDP, the National Development Plan, Vision 2030. Its strength is on partnership between business, government, and other social partners. For instance, in the area of education, when we talk about skills for the future, we are talking about skills that are needed by our markets, that are required by specific sectors. So we need deeper conversations so that engineering companies, they don't continue with their bits and pieces of bursary schemes, but we look at what we require for the next 10 years and we consolidate, we put our resources together so that we see impact as a collective. If we don't do that, if we don't work within partnerships, the allocations from fiscals would reach a point where it's not sustainable. You cannot keep on expanding. With the students, I will be engaging them in terms of saying, what's their take? Are they committed to contribute back to NSFAS in one way or another? You know, would they be open to a graduating tax of some kind? I think it's each and every sector, each and every department has to take a deep breath and look at how we make sure that through the partnerships, what we're doing is sustainable. And I don't want us to look at one angle. That's the state side only. I really think within our sectors, we have to have meaningful conversations and ensure that we assist as much as possible going forward in ensuring that the gains made are not lost because of lack of innovation and a vision. You know, now there are offerings online. We haven't explored the whole e-commerce, which is in our house as I'm talking now. It's unstoppable. The future is digital. So those are all opportunities, if explored by our institutions, they can gradually reduce the cost of higher education.